The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. Friday at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time on NBC.
It may not have air conditioning or airbags, but the original Piranha gull-wing car has options to spare.
I'm Robert Short, filmmaker and Academy Award-winning special makeup effects and visual effects supervisor. My sister, Barbara James, who's several years my senior, used to work on the show as an extra. She used to come home with tales of trying to kill Illya Kuryakin, and that kind of intrigued me. So I went down to the set and was captivated by just the filmmaking process. Then I got enamored by the actual stories and the basic format of the show. My collecting on U.N.C.L.E. was triggered by the fact that I would be down on the set, and I got to know Arnold Good and Marcel Vercoutier, the special effects guys on the show, who were responsible for making the gadgets, maintaining them, seeing that they worked on set. And at times they would give me gifts, like a communicator or a tour of the facilities, or show me how the U.N.C.L.E. guns worked and how they were put together. So I was very enamored by the hardware and the technology. My collecting started, of course, by the fact that the prop makers on the show would give me props that they no longer needed. I think the definitive turning point was finding the missing U.N.C.L.E. car.
I can remember acutely what it looked like.
I don't remember at all.
The U.N.C.L.E. car had been missing for years.
All right, we'll try it once more. Where is it?
And all of a sudden, because a woman who owned it wanted to find out the color of the original car because she was restoring it, she called Gene Winfield, the original designer. He immediately called me about where the car was.
I haven't got it.
I know you haven't got it. You passed it on to someone. Who?
I then tracked the car down on a mountaintop in the middle of Colorado, in the middle of a snowstorm, found the car. It was completely disassembled. I bought not the car, but the pieces, and had the pieces shipped. 6 months later, using all the movie-making skill and all of my contacts and friends helping me, in 6 months we had the car pristine, showroom new again.
It was a silver thing, and the wing opened up like this.
I know. Oh, it's like it was a
the DeLorean.
Anywhere the car would go, there would be a puddle of oil on it. And we had all kinds of jokes. They say, hey, you're looking for the U.N.C.L.E. car? Follow that oil. You'll find it out there somewhere.
Bob,
Gene,
how are you?
Good to see you.
Oh, it's fabulous to see you again. Here we are down here in Malibu area, beautiful sunshine.
Absolutely, and the
Gorgeous.
U.N.C.L.E. car back again, 40 years later.
That's wonderful.
Amazing.
It sure is good to see this young lady.
Now, it was based on the Piranha, wasn't it?
Yes, Piranha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a limited production car that AMT Model Company set up a plant in Phoenix, and we were going to put out a few limited production vehicles, and then this was built. But see, first we did some artwork for the studio. AMT's motive would be to build a car and furnish it to the studio for filming, and then they would build a scale model, a 25th scale model, and because that's the business they were in. So we did several drawings of different cars, and very first one we designed a Dodge. And then they said, no, we can't use a Dodge because we might have Volkswagen or Chrysler, somebody else, sponsor the show. So it had to be a nondescript car, what they call a nondescript car. So we took the Piranha and just added a bunch of features and all the gull-wing doors and things like that. And of course the nice guns here and things like
now,
that.
I read somewhere in the literature that these were supposed to be flamethrowers, even though we never saw them used in the show.
That's right.
I take it that was your intention in the design?
Yeah. Yeah, it's designed like a machine gun, but was designed to be flamethrowers. I have one picture from the studio that they gave me actually producing flames.
That's cool. Yeah. You know, it wasn't often that you saw the headlights on this car. I think there's one episode, but in the Napoleon tomb affair, I think it's the only times we ever see the headlights exposed on this thing.
Right.
Which is kind of, cool.
Yeah.
But unlike a lot of cars, on the road, I guess you don't want to do this on a production model. You want to get out and take
No,
your
on a
car
production
apart.
model, it would rotate. Actually, it would rotate over.
Cool.
On a production model.
Commander Coleman, don't try it. All right, gentlemen, drop your weapons and move away from it.
The palette on U.N.C.L.E, when you look back at the show, actually is very sophisticated. When you look at the design of headquarters, when you look at the design of fourth season headquarters especially, looking very much like a Ken Adams set from the Bond films. The use of colors, their wardrobe, the basic sets, and the props, including this one, had a very subtle take on the whole spy game, which is actually very impressive when you look back at the shows. What's interesting about the show is that the car had a lot of features, but because the writers weren't informed of what the features on the car were, they didn't write a lot of stuff into the script.
I prided myself on always trying to make sure that whatever technology I mentioned in the show was absolutely inaccurate, because I had no knowledge of how any of it worked. So I would just make things up.
And when it wasn't in the script, it didn't appear in the show.
That's true.
So ironically enough, you built a lot of stuff into the car that they could actually use.
That's right.
But because the writers didn't know about it,
That's
in
right.
the end result, they didn't write it in, and therefore a lot of the stuff wasn't used, such as on Man from U.N.C.L.E. These guys here were never used.
Right.
They just hid back there, and that was it.
Same with the gull-wing doors. They had the capability of driving down the street, and the door opens, they could fire rockets out of here. This is a rocket launcher. And of course, this is a laser beam here, and all kinds of neat things. And there's a bulletproof shield in the back that flips up, and then they stored guns and weapons inside of that compartment.
And this body's been modified since the show was off. So the doors that were originally here in the armrest where the rockets were have since been covered over. But originally, the rockets were carried in this area of the armrest.
Yes, they were stored in a compartment right in here. And they were very colorful rockets. They were white with day glow stripes around them, and this long. They were pretty mean looking.
Yeah.
And then it also had parachutes. Push a button, the license plate area flops down, and parachute would come out.
Robert Vaughn always used to complain about the car, and so did David McCallum, about the fact that they could never get in and out of this thing gracefully.
I know.
Ironically enough, in the Take Me to Your Leader affair, there's a shot of Robert Vaughn coming around a corner in the car. He stops, and he opens up the door, slides out the car, and walks away from it, and it's like butter. I mean, the guy is just like, it's beautiful. Absolutely. The suit's immaculate. His moves are immaculate. Walks away from the car like, I do this every day.
Right.
And he's just absolutely smooth as silk. And then you hear him and he's like, that son of a bitch car, that was the worst thing to get out of.
The reason I remember disliking it was very uncomfortable to get in and out of it. That's why I've always liked bigger cars.
All right, this is a wood grain dash, which has your normal speedo and tack and normal instruments and things like that. Very little gadgets showing. Push a button, the center part revolves around, reveals the radar and the fire and the smoke and the various gadgets and the instruments there. And then this part of the dash also unfolds, and you have your radar, all the switches and buttons, and a few extra ones, of course, for movie making. But this is where you operate all the weapons and the rocket launchers and the flamethrowers and things like that. And this was all by remote control. Everything was operating just by pushing a button.
In the Man from Thrush affair, they used the rockets that come out of the back. They kind of had bomb ejectors. Originally, of course, the flaps in the back were for smoke and for, again, thrust or boost or whatever it was. But in Man from Thrush, two U.N.C.L.E. agents are trying to get away from a Thrush roadblock, which they do get around, and then the Thrush agents start following them, and the doors on the back here open and shoot out a couple of bombs which blow up our Thrush pursuers. And that's one of the wonders of filmmaking, is that you can make up whatever you want kind of as you're going along, even though Gene designed it to be exhaust and the smoke ejector. Yeah. At the drop of a hat, the writer says, no, it's a bomb thrower. And so that's what we see in the Man from Thrush Affair. In the Five Daughters Affair, which is the first time we see it used on Man from U.N.C.L.E, they're attacked by a gang of Thrush helicopter pilots. And of course, the rockets in the doors would have been an excellent use, to bring the helicopters down, but it's pointed in the wrong direction. So of course we have scenes of Robert Vaughn on the other side of the car, of course, opening the door and sticking his gun out and trying to shoot the guys down with his pistol. I think the rockets would have been much more effective, but I think, again, that's one of those, if the writers don't know it's there, it doesn't show up in the show. Right. In the Test Tube Killer Affair, we see a lot more of the car, but it's just used as transportation. The only thing we really see on the car as a gadget is the tracking, the homing system inside the dashboard, tracking one of the villains through Rome.
Yeah, there she is. Let's go.
Of course, there was the model that was built from AMT of the U.N.C.L.E car, and as a kid I remember putting the car together and seeing how detailed it was and thought it was really cool. And then I was over at the lot over at MGM and actually had a chance to see the car in action, and it was fascinating to actually see the car in person for once and see that every little detail in the dash and in the seats and everything was recreated in the model. Yeah. I mean, right down to the last little button on the console. It was amazing.
200 yards due north, turn east.
It's a great design in that it just is its own flow, its own feeling. But as far as any kind of practical consideration, that took a back seat completely.
That's true.
And obviously our stars, Vaughn and McCallum, were the ones that were affected most by that.
Yes, of course.
There's another car approaching. It must be Uncle.
Oh. Well, as far as the production of filmmaking, it was very good. They liked it. It was sleek and easy to film and so forth.
And one of the things, as far as being easy to get in and out and photograph it, when you've got your actors in there and you're doing green screen, you don't want your windshield to be blocking your way. So the windshield's real easy to get out, just like my car at home. So that makes it real easy to
we left it so that you could pull the windshield right out for filming.
Ground unit on the way. Over and out.
Again, when you're talking in here, it's like an echo chamber. But yeah, you'll find them talking in the Test Tube Killer Affair.
Airstrike Unit 1, this is Solo. We're moving west toward Andnos. Thrush agent and female passenger are somewhere ahead of a green vehicle. Intercept and hold if you can. On the way.
Again, I think that's where Napoleon says that he knows
Athens like the back of my hand.
Yeah, when I first got the car and completely restored it, hey, what the heck? It's not every day you get to drive the U.N.C.L.E car. So I drive it around occasionally, drive it into Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, around. But what happened is that I eventually was really worried about some little Volkswagen crashing into the back of the car and totally destroying the collector's item, as it were. But the thing that got me the most was after driving the car and having 5 different times where police pulled me over, the red light goes on and your heart's going like this, and you're trying to figure out what the heck you did wrong. You get pulled over and it's like, yes, officer, and you gotta work the weird gull-wing doors and you're kind of hanging out the side. And the officers come over and go, this is the U.N.C.L.E car, isn't it? This is so cool. We just wanted to see it. And I'm like, thanks, guys. So after that happened 5 times, I was like, forget it. That's it. It's a collectible. It's a showpiece. It's parked. And so it hasn't been on the road for the last, I'd say, 17, 18, almost 20 years.
David, you look very relaxed for a man who spends the whole week hunting down the men in the black hats.
Well, when I leave the studio, I like to leave Illya Kuryakin back in the wardrobe.
Yeah, I imagine after 6 o'clock, you're no longer the man from U.N.C.L.E, huh?
No, I'm just plain David McCallum from the mortgaged house in the Hollywood Hills.
Are you sure that nothing dangerous ever happens to you in real life?
No, I lead a very normal life with my family.
Gee, that's interesting, David. See you later.
Yeah.
No.